Mind mapping, effectively organizing and retaining information without a photographic memory. By Tyler Borden. Narrated by Angie Nigas. Introduction. Mind mapping involves the use of a mind map to represent ideas and concepts in a visual form, where the central theme or topic is located at the center of the mind map, and subtopics are arranged around a central keyword or idea. Mind maps are considered one of the most effective note-taking strategies, and a number of different mind mapping software tools exist to facilitate the creation of mind maps. Why create mind maps? Mind mapping is the most effective way of learning, generating new ideas, summarizing, and organizing information you want to recall. Mind maps can also facilitate creativity, problem-solving, decision-making, and the generation of new ideas. They are a great tool when revising for exams, as they enable you to see how the different topics and concepts are associated, and provide visual clues which are great for quickly reviewing a subject before an exam and recalling information that would normally be lost from your long-term memory. How to create a mind map for revision. Let's say you want to use mind mapping to revise for an exam. It is a good idea to first determine how much knowledge of the subject you already have. This will help you when you want to build upon that knowledge later by developing associations and connections from the knowledge you already gained. Obtain a large sheet of paper and write down the subject or topic you are revising for at the center of the sheet. Then write down the main subjects related to that central topic by creating branches moving out from the central keyword. Add sub-branches to these subtopics containing keywords or short phrases summarizing key ideas that you can recall from memory, and try to see how the different subtopics and elements are associated. You should avoid the temptation to write in sentences. Linear note-taking uses this method, and it is very ineffective for recalling important information. Try to include no more than 4 words when summarizing an idea or concept. If you can sum up an idea with 1 word, then that is even better. Use plenty of color and images to make key topics stand out, with larger writing and images for the main topics that are nearer the center of the mind map, and smaller writing and images for those on the outside of the mind map. This will help your mind to visually organize the key topics from the subtopics. When you believe you have recalled as much of the topic as possible, then speed read books related to your subject so that you can quickly determine the different categories that the topic is composed of. Don't forget to look at the content pages of the books to get a broad summary of the different subtopics and elements of the subjects you are studying. This will help you to focus on the most important information when reading the subject in greater detail. Prioritize those books that provide the most valuable information you require for passing the exam, and read those books in depth. Now add more detail to your mind map by adding branches and keywords and phrases after reading each category or section. These keywords or phrases should encapsulate the main ideas and subtopics. This will aid in recalling the information you have just read, while help to maintain important information in your long-term memory, and will greatly assist when reviewing the subject before the exam. Don't forget to keep adding to your mind map after gaining knowledge that you consider important for the exam. Your mind map should become larger over time, and more branches should be created, moving even further from the central topic. Your mind map should become more detailed, so make sure you use a large sheet of paper. Keep reviewing your mind map every few days to reinforce the information you have learned. When you get closer to the exam, you should be able to recall in detail the knowledge gained by glancing at your master mind map, which should now contain a detailed summary of an entire subject or topic. The images will greatly assist in recalling information at a glance, and the mind map itself will help you to see how all of the elements and subtopics are associated and ordered. The mind works best via association and images. When the mind can get a broad perspective of a subject and can understand how the different topics are associated and ordered, this is the most effective method for learning and recalling information. Also, the images give mental hooks for the mind to latch onto, and so aid in recall. Chapter 1. Mind Mapping, Intuition, and Motivation. MIM. What can you use mind mapping for? You can use mind mapping to almost anything, and it will help your motivation in most things. Mind mapping is used by psychologists, educators, engineers, and other professions that need intensive thinking before coming to a conclusion. It is often used in business and commerce and office environments. It can be found in training, including brainstorming, which are mind maps that are drawn quickly using flip charts and whiteboards and other media. It is the ideas, rather than the mind map itself, that is important in brainstorming. Participation from the trainees and employees all add to raise ideas as to how the actual mind map might be developed. This exercise helps to strengthen concepts and ideas more solidly, much more than a list ever could. It also helps to organize people and store information in order to learn things by recalling the process of creating the map in particular. In primary or junior school, mind mapping is introduced in interactive lessons, which is far more stimulating, engaging, and motivating, and leads to children displaying more enthusiasm into sorting, organizing, and motivating towards retaining information. Mind mapping can increase children's motivation and learning ability, and this is particularly helpful when the child or young person is revising or when taking notes in class or at lectures. It is the process of creating a mind map where the learning occurs and not the end result. This is because you are using one-word ideas or phrases, visual thinking or symbols or images and graphical representations that have deeper meaning for you, and all fit in with a bigger picture or concept. All this helps enormously with memory and recall, which is more uplifting and motivating, and can reduce the lack of motivation many often experience and or associate with revision generally. Mind mapping is great for self-motivation also, so use it in your personal life. It will help you to make and reach important decisions more quickly and easily. For example, if you are considering starting a new relationship with someone, write the person's name down in the center of the page and maybe embellish it with a symbol or graphical representation of some sort that has a personal meaning for you, or draw a circle around it. Then tear out from that and write or draw separate ideas or concepts that have a connection with or are part of this situation with that person. Perhaps you have branches and sub-branches that appear as words or symbols, representing sincerity, passion, kindness, sexy, beautiful, intelligent, whatever. Perhaps appearing responsible and caring, great sense of humor, enjoys life, interested in travel, etc. However, just going over your mind mapping points afterwards, you then may be able to identify negative or unfavorable characteristics for deeper consideration. So further sub-branches might include the following concepts: passionate, always busy with too many things, too assertive, inflexible, inclined to be argumentative. Has a good job. Workaholic, suffers from stress, brings home problems from work, no work-life balance. When you create a mind map and brainstorm things, writing down the first things that come into your mind and then just looking at it can sometimes clarify things straight away by seeing the advantages and disadvantages of any given situation quickly. This often motivates you to make a decision there and then. Mind maps cut out much of the analysis that you get from doing lists. Too much analysis leads to paralysis, and it's the most common condition that slows down progress in many aspects of our lives. It can prolong decision-making so much with a result for many that the decision is no longer relevant by the time it's made. How to use mind mapping for success. When you use viral marketing techniques to mind map internet marketing, you build your business and fast earn internet riches. Viral gets you out there in a huge way. Mind mapping gives you the steps on how to get there. You simply follow the steps. Even internet beginners can earn money quick with this system. Just as with every great idea, the power of mind mapping for success lies in its simplicity. In a mind map, as opposed to traditional note-taking, information is structured in short, concise statements, not a lot of words. Mind mapping avoids dull, linear thinking, jogging your creativity, and making note-taking fun again. In a nutshell, what can we use mind maps for? Internet marketing, note-taking, brainstorming, individually or in groups, problem-solving, studying and memorization, planning, researching and consolidating information from multiple sources, presenting information, gaining insight on complex subjects, and jogging your creativity. Mind mapping can help clarify your thinking in any area: personal, family, educational, or business. Planning your day or planning your life, summarizing a book, launching a project, planning and creating presentations, writing your blog, anything. When you mind map business planning and mind map life coaching together, you create the exact steps to follow your dream life. The challenge of mind mapping is getting your arms around a lot of information and making sense of it. Once the map is created, you can step back and think about your thinking. You may decide to reorganize or move things around now that all of the information is out of your head and on the map. Entrepreneurs are responsible for an incredible amount of detail and communication. A mind map can clarify your thinking and put all your points on a single piece of paper. Then you reference your plan at the beginning and end of each day to keep you on track. We have all been trained to take linear notes. Most brains are wired neurologically to continue with this habit, even though it does not reflect the natural nature of the brain. The truth is that all of us are visual thinkers to varying degrees. In order to adapt to mind mapping, it means changing how you think and taking the time to create a new habit. Free how to use mind mapping software is readily available. Simply Google mind mapping software and you will see a listing of various free and paid software programs. Entrepreneurs who want to try mind mapping can start by tackling a strategic plan or solving a problem. Write your key word or problem in the center of a piece of paper, then branching out from it, write the steps you need to perform to achieve your key word. You will find mind mapping is the key to success, maybe even a way to earn easy money. Improving your mindset and your marketing both at the same time. They happen at the same time, so it makes sense to look at them at the same time. One of my specialties is mind mapping for success. Mind mapping is the key. My internet marketing mind maps give you mind map business planning and mind map life coaching. Save tons of time and effort, follow my viral marketing techniques, and create info products for beginners. And learn how to use free mind mapping software. Mind mapping for marketing, technical writing, and public relations, a pro copywriter's perspective. Whether you use pen and paper or the latest mind mapping software, the simple elegance of this technique has evolved into a powerful tool for copywriters, authors, or anyone who needs to organize or think more creatively. Have you ever spent hours writing meeting notes, yet felt that the really important information remains buried deep within a mass of minutes? Or maybe you've wrestled with complex information for a report, website, or a newsletter. If that sounds familiar, the answer, as many other people have discovered, may lie in the simple but effective technique called mind mapping. Mind mapping in marketing, technical writing, and PR. 20 years ago, before I became a copywriter in Gloucestershire, England, I discovered mind mapping, got hooked, and soon started using this simple tool in my marketing, technical writing, and PR work. Since then, mind mapping has become an integral part of my working and personal life, completely changing the way I think, organize information, and plan my copywriting. Whether you mind map on the back of an envelope, or with mind mapping software such as FreeMind, the technique could change your writing life too. Unlimited uses for copywriters and others. Mind mapping is related to techniques such as concept mapping, idea mapping, and Ishikawa diagrams. The term mind mapping was coined by British writer Tony Buzan and consists of creating branching diagrams that uses lines, words, color, and images to capture information around a central idea. Like all great ideas, mind mapping is as simple and accessible as a pencil and old envelope. Although Buzan claims the origination of the term mind map, the use of image-centered radial graphical organization methods goes back centuries. And with computers, it was inevitable that mind mapping would reach our monitors as mind mapping software, such as the excellent open-source FreeMind. Advantages of mind mapping for copywriters. So often, the simplest ideas and tools are the most powerful. For my work as a writer, I've used mind mapping daily to plan articles, brochure content, and website copy, as well as for all manner of thinking and brainstorming purposes. Naturally, this book was planned using mind mapping. What are the advantages of mind mapping for copywriters? No need for expensive technology, though mind mapping software is very powerful. Portability. What's handier than an old envelope and a pencil? Mind mapping is suited to a wide range of tasks. Mind mapping is great for organizing copywriting projects. Mind mapping prompts new ideas. It's a powerful creativity aid. Mind mapping and mind mapping software is easy to learn and use. Mind mapping makes it easy to view your topic overview. If you're like me, you'll benefit from your first simple mind map. Mind mapping can be added to and reviewed more easily than linear notes. Mind mapping is aesthetically pleasing and fun. The key to successful mind mapping. The keys to successful mind mapping are emphasis, association, clarity, and developing a personal style. As such, mind mapping shares a lot with the principles of good copywriting. Once your initial mind map is completed, you can easily add additional thoughts or associations between different elements. Starting with a blank piece of paper and keeping it horizontal before you, put a strong written and graphical image at the center of the page. Then draw a series of radiating lines out from the central image, each one corresponding to a key idea relating to your theme. On each radiating line, write a single keyword for that idea. Then just keep going, adding finer lines and more keywords as you create an organic, branching hierarchy of ideas. Be spontaneous, don't be fussy about appearance, get those ideas down and see where you end up. You may be surprised. Chapter 2. Simple steps to follow on how to mind map. In mind mapping, the information in your head is arranged in a way that actually resembles how your brain works. Aside from it helping you become analytical, it also gives you the chance to be artistic. Imagine the shapes, words, and colors and how you interconnect all of them. That certainly takes more than the plain ability to write, right? Now, how do you exactly draw a mind map? First off, it would be better to use landscape orientation on your paper so you can have a wider space to work on. Start in the middle part of the blank page. Draw or write the idea you wish to develop. Then create subtopics for your main one. Connect all of the subtopics to the center by using a line. Do the same procedure for your subtopics. Create lower-level subtopics whenever applicable. This is the basic structure of how to mind map. Now, although there is a basic structure on what a mind map must be like, there really is no strict regulation on how you should create it, meaning visually you are free to create it however you like. For instance, you can use different drawings, symbols, shapes, and colors. The more visual you are in mind mapping, the better. You don't have to be an artist to make your own map. Just do it the way you think best. Ideally, the topics on your mind map must be short. If you can, simply use pictures. It is often very tempting to write long phrases when you are taking down notes to make sure that you won't forget your thoughts. However, in mind mapping, this is not advisable. The more concise you are when you mind map, the better. It will make your map more effective. The text you use would also be important. You must change their size, colors, and alignments. Create visual cues in order to emphasize important details. This will make it easier for you to find what you would be looking for in the future. Remember that every little variation in your mind map engages your brain. Mind mapping is truly useful, and the nice thing about creating it is it's absolutely fun. There are plenty of places to learn how to mind map, and you can easily access them online. However, do not feel compelled to follow any specific guideline. You should never worry about doing your mind map the right way, because there really is no stringent rule in making one. The important thing is that you follow its main structure. Then enjoy the process of doing it. Mind mapping software versus paper and pencil, the pros and cons. So, 20 years into mind mapping and still learning, do I prefer paper and pencil or computerized mind mapping software? Mind mapping software is certainly good for getting a lot of information into a page and frees you from the novice's worry about fitting everything into a small area. Furthermore, computerized mind maps can be easily integrated with other electronic documents for a polished presentation. On the other hand, even with keyboard shortcuts, mind mapping software rarely matches the speed of paper and pencil as ideas flow. I've also found that conventional mind mapping is easier, quicker, and less obtrusive in a client meeting. There's also something about the simple elegance of quick, inspired, hand-drawn mind mapping. People still comment when they see me draw one, and I'd always recommend starting with pencil and paper before experimenting with mind mapping software. You haven't discovered mind mapping or mind mapping software yet? I definitely urge you to give it a go. How to use mind mapping software for project management. Mind mapping software can be a powerful tool for managing your projects, your goals, and even your to-do lists. Mind maps are very visually oriented and enable you to gather, manage, and share a large variety of information and resources quickly and easily, making them an ideal tool for managing projects. Applications of mind maps for project management. Here are some ways in which you can utilize any of the most popular mind mapping software programs, such as Mind Manager, Mind Genius, or Concept Draw Mind Map, to streamline your workload. Idea file. A mind map is an ideal place to store ideas related to your project. Better yet, you can maintain a separate mind map as your master idea file. Project objectives. You can use a mind map to list objectives of the project and keep them close at hand throughout the project to help you stay focused on its outcome. Milestones. You can use your favorite mind mapping software to define project milestones and track the progress of key elements of the project. Some software programs enable you to attach percentage done icons to tasks within your map, which enable you to gauge your progress toward these key project milestones at a glance. Questions. A mind map is an excellent place to create a list of all the questions you have about the scope of the project, questions you need to ask other people, and other related questions. Information needs. You can use a mind map to create lists of the information you need, research you need to do, resources you need to explore, people you need to contact for specific information or expertise, and other information needs. Links to favorite resources. You can easily use your favorite mind mapping program to create links to websites, documents, reports, and other project-related resources to which your team members need fast, easy access. I have found this to be a big time saver for me. Instead of wasting time searching through my file directories looking for a key document or spreadsheet, I can create a link to it within my project map so I never have to hunt for it again. Define team roles and responsibilities. You can create a branch of your map that concisely summarizes each team member's roles and responsibilities. Experts and sources. You can mind map to maintain a list of experts you need to contact for specific information related to the project. Project notes. Most mind mapping programs enable you to attach notes to the branches of your mind map. You can use this capability to store additional information related to the items in your mind map. Storing them in this way keeps them out of view until you are ready to look at them. At any time, you can easily drill down to read the notes you have stored regarding the aspect of your project. Additional strategies. Here are a few more tips to help you get the most out of your project mind maps. Link your maps. If you are trying to manage a particularly complex project or a very large to-do list, you may want to consider breaking it up into smaller, linked maps. This will prevent you from suffering from information overload, while at the same time keeping all of your project resources just a few mouse clicks away. Manage map content with filters. Most mind mapping programs enable you to filter the contents of your map by level, keyword, as well as symbols or icons you have attached to branches of your map. In other words, you can filter the contents of your mind map so that only certain elements are displayed, while others are hidden from view. If you're working with a large, complex map, this capability can be extremely helpful. So do yourself a favor and become intimately familiar with the filtering capabilities of your mind mapping software of choice. Simplify task management. Some mind mapping software programs such as Mind Manager and Mind Genius enable you to designate tasks with checkboxes. Further, they allow you to filter your map's entire contents to show just the active tasks. Be sure to use this method to identify your tasks and track them effectively within your mind map. Have a strategy for using map symbols. If you plan to share your project maps with other members of your team, be sure to establish a visual vocabulary for use of map symbols and branch colors and styles so that they are understandable to everyone. This is particularly important if you plan to use the icons or symbols that most programs allow you to attach to map branches. You must develop a shared understanding of what they mean with your team members and then use these visual enhancements consistently. Also, when developing a project map, be sure to include a legend which visually summarizes the icons used in the map and their meaning. You must develop a shared understanding of what they mean with your team members and then use these visual enhancements consistently. Also, when developing a project map, be sure to include a legend which visually summarizes the icons used in the map and their meaning. Do a brain dump, then organize. When you first create your project map, don't worry about structure and hierarchy. Just do a brain dump into a new map. You can always move items around and restructure your map later. Your number one priority when mapping a project is to make sure that you capture as much initial detail as possible. Utilize map templates to save time. If you plan to use mind maps frequently for project planning and management, you ought to consider creating a project template that can serve as a starting point for each new project. This will help to ensure that you ask all of the right questions and gather all of the required information for each new project, as well as saving you and your team valuable time. 3 tips from an expert mind mapper about mind mapping. Tony Buzan, the creator of the mind mapping system, says that over 300 million people around the world use it. In his book, you will receive 3 tips on mind mapping that will help you make even better use of it. The first and most important tip is to continue using it on a conscious basis. Yes, this sounds strange. To keep using it, you have to use it. Although strange, it is true. We all run different mental programs in all kinds of situations. This helps us to do what we do as effortlessly as possible. However, mind mapping is different from normal things we do, so the only way we can benefit from it and really use it is to consciously use it. Use mind maps on a daily basis. The best way is probably by starting the day with a mind map. What will you do this day? What is important? Create a mind map on those thoughts. Then, at the end of the day, you sit down and update the map and see what you've accomplished. The second tip is to put your doubts aside. Brian Tracy says that when people find something worthwhile and new, most of them don't try it. You need to have a little faith in your new mind mapping skill. This helps you to master your information faster and creates more overview in your life. Tip 3 has to do with your brain. Your brain already operates in and uses mind map-related structures. We were all indoctrinated by the linear left-to-right, top-to-bottom kind of way to write and learn. This is so unbrain-like. When you, by nature, think in mind maps, you should use mind maps on paper and your computer as well. To conclude, have faith, use mind maps consciously every day, and understand you already think in mind maps. This will help you to become faster and better in using mind maps. Your life may well depend on it. Improve your study skills with mind mapping. Tips in note-taking. If you are a full-time student or are studying from home, you probably make a lot of notes during your lectures and lessons, or when reading your textbooks or course materials. Later, you will almost certainly review these notes when preparing for an exam or when you have a written piece of work to do. Disadvantages of traditional note-taking. The main problem when making notes in a traditional linear way is that it is a very passive process. Your brain does not get very involved in processing the information. By actively engaging your brain in organizing the new material, you will be able to improve your understanding and recall of it. You can do this by using the mind mapping technique for making notes. A simple and effective way to make notes. Mind mapping is an excellent diagrammatic way of organizing key ideas or concepts from lesson notes or textbooks. You simply take the essential elements from linear material, textbooks or your lesson notes, to generate your mind map. In this way, you can capture all your notes in one screen, enabling you to see the inner connections of certain ideas. What's more, mind mapping encourages you to utilize the power of images to add emphasis and association to your notes. Using visuals in this way enhances the memory storing and recalling capabilities, as well as increasing aesthetic pleasure. Rob reduced his notes by 95% using the mind mapping. In looking for a way to improve his note-making abilities, Rob Williams used it to help him study for his bookkeeping exams. I think I must have tried every piece of mind mapping software available on the market. I purchased a couple which have not really done what I want. It can take ages to build a map. In contrast, I have found it to be quick and easy to use. I am a terrible note taker. I tend to read a text and end up copying the whole text into my notes, which is why mind mapping is ideal for me. You can only have keywords on the branches and not reams of text. I am studying bookkeeping and I have an exam coming up shortly and was daunted by the thought of having to read through all my notes again. Using this, I've reduced the notes of the first 3 units by about 95% quickly and with visually pleasing results. Here are some tips to help you make notes using mind maps. Tips for making notes from a textbook or course material. 1. Textbooks are usually neatly structured into chapters, topic headings, and subheadings which can provide an easy framework for creating your mind map branches. 2. Build your mind map as you progress through the study text. Every time you read an idea that strikes you as important or interesting, just add it to your mind map in the appropriate place. You can also add your own thoughts and ideas as they arise while you are reading. 3. Add details such as images, shapes, highlights, and colors to help you organize the material better and commit it to memory. 4. When you have finished reading, you will have generated a single mind map which summarizes everything of interest from the text. The act of creating the mind map will have greatly increased the volume of information that you have absorbed from the text. 5. If you created your map with a mind mapping software, you can review the topic at any time by referring back to your mind map. It is easy to make changes or restructure your map without the hassle of recreating all of your work. 6. You don't need pages and pages of notes for effective study. Tips for summarizing a lesson or structure. You may want to summarize a lesson or lecture you have recently had to reinforce what was taught. Use mind maps to collate the key information from a set of notes you have already taken. This gives you a sense of the dominant themes and structure of the lesson or lecture. 1. Start by entering the subject matter of the lesson in the middle of the map with a central image. 2. Create the main branches from this subject, each labeled with a key topic or theme that was covered in the lesson. Remember to use single keywords in keeping with mind mapping principles. 3. Next, draw connecting branches to the main branches and label these with subtopics. If you have any of your own ideas during this exercise, add them to your mind map. 4. Add images to help make the mind map more visually memorable for revision. 5. While it is necessary to be brief in order to create an effective mind map, you may wish to include more comprehensive notes at the early stage of study. Some mind mapping software, such as iMindMap, allows you to add notes to your branches or link them to external files such as Word documents or spreadsheets, which you can open up when needed. After you have studied this information, you will only need the keywords of your mind map to bring it back to memory. Note-making is just one of the activities that you can use mind mapping to assist you in your studies. Mind mapping is also an effective way to help you plan essays and project work, prepare for exams, brainstorm, create and make a presentation for supporting group study, for revision, and much more. Have a strategy for using map symbols. If you plan to share your project maps with other members of your team, be sure to establish a visual vocabulary for use of map symbols and branch colors and styles so that they are understandable to everyone. This is particularly important if you plan to use the icons or symbols that most programs allow you to attach to map branches. You must develop a shared understanding of what they mean with your team members and then use these visual enhancements consistently. Also, when developing a project map, be sure to include a legend which visually summarizes the icons used in the map and their meaning. Chapter 3. Capturing and overviewing great ideas with mind mapping. Your mind creates ideas. The mind map creates overviews. This is very easy to understand. You have these amazing ideas stored in your head. The mind map is only a format that shows you what you already know. Most people who are mind mapping believe it is the mind map that creates the ideas. Understand that the mind map is only a tool that lets you overview the thoughts you have on one sheet of paper. A mind map cannot do anything without you. It may only give you a fresh perspective on familiar thoughts. By seeing all of the thoughts, ideas, and concepts on one sheet of paper, your mind may find new angles on a problem or topic. When you create a mind map, whether this is on paper or on your computer, you need to be quick and precise. You must act quickly in order to capture the flow of your ideas on your sheet. Don't start to draw images in the beginning. Don't try to find the best suited structure or format for your mind map. In this stage, it is all about thought capturing. You need to be precise because your mind gives you the information in a certain order, most of the time. It is up to you to create the branches, sub-branches, and relationship lines. When you capture the right concepts and thoughts and you put these in the right place, you can use the map to create more wonderful ideas. This is where you use the overview to dive deeper into your own mind. The practical side of mind mapping on paper. A good overview during my training courses, I ask people to create notes on a short presentation I give. After the presentation, they learn how to mind map and they create their first mind map. 9 out of 10 people who create the first mind map on paper do this the same way. They use the entire sheet of paper and write much larger than they normally do. So many people fill their sheet from left to right and top to bottom. They cover every inch of the sheet with lines, images, and words. They are learning to use a new tool and they are totally getting into the drawing aspect of the mind map. When I ask them to add new information to their freshly created mind map, this creates a problem for most. They use the entire sheet of paper and lack room for additional information. This is usually the moment they start to see problems for the usage of mind maps. It is really interesting to see that they don't notice that their mind map sheet is twice the size of their original sheet. Also, they use less information in the mind map. When you want to get the most out of your mind maps, I would like to advise you not to write too big. Yes, you have lots of space, yet this has to be filled with information, not big letters and drawings. When you want to overview lots of information, you need to let it run free on a large sheet. Make sure this is an easy-to-read and practical overview. Do not write larger than you would normally do. One of the strengths of mind mapping is that you can add new thoughts and ideas to your overview easily, unless you write larger than you would normally do. To give your sheep or cow a large, spacious meadow is the way to control him. The bigger the meadow, the larger the cows you can have on it. Just keep it practical. Don't write larger if you don't have to. The law of Parkinson doesn't apply to mind mapping sheets as well, right? Creating clarity and overview in your information will give you a clear mind. This is vital when you want to create success in your life. Business mind mapping, your map to find the gold in your business. After going through an explanation of mind mapping and its advantages, once a person starts mind mapping, their powers of innovation, understanding, communication, and memory are suddenly and forever enhanced. There is gold in their future as a result. Mind mapping techniques explained in further detail. You start with the main topic, question, or problem in the center of a large piece of paper set horizontally. Draw a single line out from the center for each single word subtopic. You can add as many subtopics as you need, but only write one word or short phrase for each. Then, for the next tier, draw single lines with second-level words, concepts, etc., each with its own line. If a small symbol or picture can be substituted for a word, do so. The software programs available for online mind mapping have libraries of symbols and images to drop into the map, replacing some of the words and making the mind map even more vivid and memorable. The process brings out creativity and innovation, even in those of you who are now saying to themselves, "But I can't even draw a straight line." Everyone is creative. Everyone has the capacity to be creative. Mind maps can help bring it out. If a picture is worth 1,000 words, then a mind map is worth 1,000 pictures. Because it is drawn the way your brain works, the map on paper creates efficiency in thinking about and storing the ideas. Big ideas and subjects can be visualized quickly and more completely. A mind map begs people to ask questions and build understanding. It is much easier to remember a subject that you mind mapped. Pictures and ideas are easier to remember than sentences and paragraphs. For your next presentation, consider instead of a linear presentation of slides, use a dynamically developed mind map of the subject. You will find that you can elicit ideas and discussion all from one slide or flip chart. Whether it is a customer audience or your executive team, they will appreciate the direct, concise, and easy-to-follow presentation. Their minds will be engaged. Your presentations will be more organized if prepared using a mind map. It will be more convincing and easier to follow. It will have more staying power with your audience because recollection is based on associations and connections in the brain, and you have helped your audience by illustrating the associations and connections in color and in a single design. You don't have to be an artist. In mind mapping, the connections are what is important. Using only key words and connections, you convey the ideas effectively. By adding color, emphasis, and symbols, you increase comprehension and memory. The best mind maps are done freehand on large pieces of paper. Flip chart paper turned horizontally works great. Large pieces of flip chart or other paper or roll of paper can be taped to the wall so the mind map can expand or several people work on it. When I saw mind mapping for the first time, it slowly dawned on me how much it would have helped me during my many years in school and the thousands of tests I had taken. Anger welled up in my body. Why didn't any of the teachers show me this studying tool, this miracle of how the brain learns new material? I had struggled with every subject that required memorization. The night before tests, I got very little sleep as I read the same material over and over, took notes, highlighted, underlined, and then went over the same materials again and again. Studying by doing a mind map of the material organizes it and brings it down to its essence. You have to do the physical drawing, and you have to have thought through the key ideas and how they are connected. Then you can picture the whole map while taking the test. The same technique works when you have to give a speech or presentation. To share or collaborate on a mind map with others who cannot be in the same place at the same time, a computer version of mind mapping is the best answer. These programs also allow you to save a snapshot of your mind map and include it in a Word document or PowerPoint presentation. Mind Map: 7 cool reasons to choose this powerful mind map software. There are literally hundreds of different mind map software available to you today, and the choice can sometimes be overwhelming. So which one do you choose? Well, mind mapping is a very straightforward process, and the majority of the software produced will give you what you need to start using this powerful tool on your computer. Once you get to the higher end of the mind map software food chain, there is very little to separate the better programs other than personal preference to the interface and presentation. 1. Huge image library. Perhaps the biggest barrier to people using hand-drawn mind mapping is the huge belief that they are unable to draw, and as the use of images to illustrate branches is a large part of the power of the tool, then many decide that it is not for them. Fortunately, with iMindMap, it has a very large built-in library of images you can use to add to your maps that you can use offline, together with thousands more available to you when you are connected to the internet. 2. An impressive import facility. iMindMap allows you to integrate with other mind mapping software applications by importing, editing, and saving maps created in these other programs. iMindMap allows you to integrate with other mind mapping software applications by importing, editing, and saving maps created in these other programs. As long as you have the source mind maps in .xml format, you can import files from FreeMind and Mind Manager. This means migrating across from other mind map applications is very easy to do if you want to make the transition to software with greater levels of functionality and usability. An equally impressive export facility. Once you have created your mind map, you can then export it to a number of different formats depending on what you want to use the output for. For example, you can create a PDF document, an image file, or even a web page. You can also output the map to MS Project or MS Word. 4. Screen capture. Often it is necessary to share the picture of a map with others, either by sending it directly to them, if they don't have iMindMap themselves, or by adding to documents and presentations. The screen capture tool allows you to take a snapshot of either the whole map or part of it so you can easily paste it into other documents. 5. Sketch tool. One of the biggest attractions of iMindMap to the die-hard exponents of the hand-drawn variety is that it very closely mirrors the way a map is drawn on paper. One of the key features that allows this is the sketch tool, which means it is very easy to add your own hand-drawn images to your map, thus retaining the feel of drawing a map by hand, but on your computer. 6. Audio notes. Being able to tap into all three of the major learning styles is one of the ways a good mind map application will help you think and learn. Another one of the groundbreaking features added to the most recent version of iMindMap is the ability to add audio notes to the branch, meaning that not only do you get the visual benefits of your creation together with the physical experience of creating it, but you also tap into the auditory style too. Presentation mode. Using mind mapping to prepare and deliver presentations has always been one of its most popular uses, but now the presentation mode within the software takes that up to a new level. The map you use to create and plan your presentation can now be delivered as your visual aid to your audience. As you progress through your talk, your audience can watch your mind map unfold as you share your ideas with them. It allows for stunning presentations even from inexperienced presenters. It means the audience will be able to keep track of your points, and they will remember far more of what they are hearing for much longer. Chapter 4. Benefits of using mind maps in the workplace. Working in today's competitive workplace as a business professional can be extremely challenging. Often you will face difficult tasks that will try to exhaust you by the end of the day. You are expected to manage loads of information that you need to sort out and convert into useful output. Having to do all of this, it will be unavoidable that you reach a point when you will feel overwhelmed and worn out. Without mind maps and proper planning, you will end up even more tired and overwhelmed. With your hectic schedule, what energy do you have left for your loved ones? How much energy do you have for yourself? How will you achieve some balance in your life and avoid stress from taking over? In situations like this, how does mind mapping help you? You are probably looking for a solution for this problem. Everybody walks around with the same questions at some point in your lives. Being in this awkward position is heartbreaking. Mind mapping or visual mapping may be the only way to free yourself from this bondage. It will surely do wonders in giving you fresh perspective you can use to mend your life and create the balance you are looking for. Mind mapping software helps personal development. It's no secret that mind mapping has all kinds of business and professional applications, but fewer people know that it can also be a great help in personal development. Mind mapping software can help people in their personal lives. It allows them to organize the things around them, such as schedules, calendars, and tasks, and within them, such as ideas, feelings, and memories. Here are just a few ways mind mapping software can help in your personal development. Time management. Time seems to move in a linear fashion, but that doesn't mean that our priorities fall in line automatically. Mind map software can help us figure out what needs to be done, who is available to do it, and how we can prioritize our time for the best results for our families. Memories. It often feels like memories have faded away, but they're usually there under the surface somewhere. Mind maps can help you call them up by creating webs of associated ideas and emotions. Decision-making. Many business and institutions use mind mapping software to help their decision-making processes, but individuals and families can use it too. Each choice and its potential results can be mapped out quickly and clearly with the software. It's a good technique to teach kids, too, who will face some hard decisions in their lives. Problem solving. Mind maps can help you move from a place where you simply react to problems to a place where you creatively change your circumstances. More and better solutions become clear with the help of mind mapping software. Emotional health. Many therapists use mind mapping techniques to help their patients explore the roots of their own emotions, but this is also something you can do for yourself. Are you unhappy, frustrated, discontent? Work it out in a mind map, and you may find some new insights that might surprise you. Goal setting. This seems like a linear process to get to D, but you make your way through steps A, B, and C, but there are many creative approaches to figuring out your goals and making a plan for them that linear thinking isn't equipped to uncover. New options and new opportunities become so much clearer once you start entering your ideas into your mind mapping software. Spiritual progress. Mind mapping can help you determine your spiritual values and goals, of course, but it can be even more than that. Mind maps can itself be a form of prayer or meditation. You can contemplate the name or character of your Supreme Being by beginning a mind map with that technique. You can adore each element of the divine character as it is revealed in the depths of your mind. For those who fidget in stillness, meditation can be hard. But if your mind can be relaxed by your mind mapping, it can then be free to soar along spiritual paths. Dealing with fear or negativity. Sometimes all those discouraging thoughts need is a place to be expressed. Use your mind mapping software to type them all in. Give them the attention they're seeking. Then take a deep breath and hit the delete button. See? Gone. And so is all of the anxiety. The uses of mind maps and mind mapping software are almost unlimited. Take some time to explore how you can make your life better using this powerful and unique tool. How mind mapping can boost your performance. Mind maps can be used for numerous purposes, including note-taking, studying for exams, problem-solving, brainstorming, preparing outlines for research papers, or preparing essays. In any of these activities, you would start your mind map by placing your main topic or theme at the very center of the page. You then build radially by drawing lines emanating outward from the center topic. Labeling each line with a keyword or point, you would build your map further by drawing more lines emanating from these points. The new lines would become subpoints, qualifying information, or useful related points. You can continue to build or clarify any point by radially adding more lines to them as you deem appropriate. When you have finished your mind map, you will have captured in diagram form all of the information that you think is important or helpful. To make the information in a mind map stand out, you can personalize it with colorful pictures, symbols, or other graphics. Rather than use only text to represent a keyword or subpoint, make your mind map shine by replacing or coupling the text with colorful graphics that will help you understand or recall the information later. Educators, engineers, students, business people, and others have used mind maps for centuries to assist in learning, brainstorming, memory, visual thinking, and problem solving. This linear, left-to-right, top-to-bottom way of representing information is less effective than the mind map because our brains are better at scanning entire pages in a non-linear fashion. It can also espouse the importance of incorporating pictures, colors, symbols, and other graphical representations into the mind map on the nonverbal centers of our brains to achieve better understanding and recall. While mind mapping can be very useful, it is not difficult to master. Use these steps to begin one. 1. Start with a blank sheet of paper. 2. Turn the paper sideways in the landscape position. 3. Draw a colored image in the center of the page that will represent the topic on the mind map. Label the topic image with text. 4. Draw the main themes or ideas about the topic on thick lines radiating out from the central image. These are your key images from which you will build your mind map. 5. Start to add a second level of thought. These words and/or images should be related and linked to the main branch of keywords and themes that triggered them. The connecting lines in which these words or images are placed should be thinner. These words can be in lowercase. 6. As the second level of thought triggers more words or ideas, draw lines emanating from them to capture these new words or ideas. 7. Use images throughout your mind map. Add an image to all the main branches to represent each theme, and also use images to personify every important keyword on your map. You can use line drawings, patterns, symbols, pictures, stick figures, etc. 8. Add dimension to your mind map by enclosing words or images in boxes and adding depth. 9. Use colors freely throughout. Be as audacious, big, and imaginative as possible. If you're looking for a more dynamic and effective way to organize notes, to draw up plans, to prepare a presentation, or to study, give mind mapping a try. The technique is easy to master and engages more of your mind in the learning and recall process. You might find that this is just the solution you've been looking for to boost your performance. Chapter 5. Perfect your presentations with mind mapping. It is far too common procedure for lecturers to prepare presentations with a few pages of notes made up of linear sentences. They stand behind the podium and start to read, expecting their diligent audience to take proper notes. They drone on monotonously at the pace enabling their audience to copy their words. Drooping shoulders and heavy heads become more and more visible. Is this method actually doing any good? No, words alone are worthless in helping to understand and remembering. Not only are they boring, but they do not represent the brain's naturally fluid nature. Presentations need to impart information in a form that is easily digested by the brain. The most effective presentation will include key words, images, colors, visual rhythms, connections, and associations. These are main aspects in triggering imagination, a key process in learning. How do you achieve these in a presentation? Mind maps are perfect for structuring and organizing. It is important that you mind map the basic facts of your presentation before you even begin to concentrate on the subject matter. Mind maps are perfect for structuring and organizing current ideas and plans in a memorable way for presenting to others. First, you need to know who your audience is and that they stand to benefit from your presentation. Your mind map may include branches such as case studies, analysis, inspiration, understanding, etc. With the aid of this mind map, you will be able to turn the keywords and ideas into a coherent order, ensuring that you use hard data to back up views or ideas that you may use in the presentation. Ensure your central image incorporates the subject, while the branches must represent the subjects for discussion. By using a mind map, you will use your role in a wider context to be clearer, and you will find it easier to stick to your subject as your thoughts will be less likely to wander off on a tangent. Be bold. Use images and colors. In your presentation, you should use images, colors, symbols, etc. This is one of the most effective ways of getting your point across. The visual stimuli will make the presentation more dynamic and interesting. A long list of boring information can be transformed into colorful, memorable, highly organized diagrams that reflect your brain's natural way of thinking and encourage synergetic thinking. Therefore, in your mind map, include a branch of thoughts and ideas to make your presentation more fun, interactive, and memorable for your audience. Practice makes perfect. It is important that one of the branches on your mind map should focus on the practice you feel is necessary to ensure that you do not run over your allocated time. You may also use the mind map to allocate how much time you would like to spend on each topic. How can computer software help you? Thanks to computers, presentations have become even easier to aid with the state-of-art visuals. With mind mapping software available such as Tony Buzan's iMindMap, computerized mind maps can be transferred to PowerPoint. Do not fall into the trap of believing that using PowerPoint means simply making a linear list of sentences and phrases. This will fail to keep your audience interested and able to learn. Interaction with your audience is another key aspect to your successful presentation. This can be achieved by building up the mind map as you share your information with your audience and asking them to contribute any ideas or thoughts to the map. Alternatively, encourage your participants to take notes in the form of their own individual mind maps on your presentation. This will require the audience to think for themselves and encourage active participation. Consequently, the audience are more likely to get the most out of your presentation. Mind maps allow participants to break their linear tradition of note-taking and helps them to make appropriate associations and absorb more information effectively. Mind maps to clear a cluttered mind. Do you have so many things on your mind that you cannot focus? Are you trying to find a way to get focused so you can complete important tasks? The best way to clear the clutter is by using something called a mind map or brain map. A brain map allows you to jot down the things on your mind with some kind of order. You can begin with an idea and then freely associate ideas that come up. It is the quickest and easiest way to pour all the ideas you have out of your mind. By making a brain map, you put your clutter on a map. Taking a central idea that can be as simple as today's date and dumping everything that comes to mind. It can be a quick process of a few minutes or take several hours to complete. The main purpose is to empty all those thoughts out of your head. The links will help you connect those free-flowing thoughts with the main idea when you revisit the mind map. The resulting mind map is also something that you can share with others so they can see all the things you have thought about in relation to the main idea. Mind maps can be as simple or complex as you want. This makes it nice for brain dumps because the resulting mind maps can match your thinking style and be an overview or as in-depth as you like. This makes it nice for brain dumps because the resulting mind map can match your thinking style and be an overview or as in-depth as you like. The next time you feel your head filled with ideas and feel like you cannot focus until you get your head cleared, open your mind mapping program and start to dump. You will find that it soon becomes a natural thing to do whenever you are feeling overwhelmed with ideas or bogged down in thoughts. There are several free mind mapping programs on the internet, so getting one should be easy. Make a point of getting a mapping program today and unclutter your mind like a pro. How to use mind mapping techniques to achieve your goals. There are many portrayals of what a mind map is, and someone wanting to understand how it works can easily get confused when presented with so many versions of how it should look like. For this reason, there is a need to go back to the basics. Essentially, a mind map has the following elements: a central topic or main idea, subtopics or ideas related to the central idea, connectors that link the subtopics to that central idea, and drawings or colors to highlight ideas or emphasize points. If you have seen a drawing of the structure of a neuron, the basic unit of the nervous system, the mind map looks very similar to it. It has a central structure called the nucleus with everything else, the soma, dendrites, and the axon, radiating from it. This may be the reason why the mind map is a good way to express one's creative thinking and keep the juice of ideas flowing. Structurally, the mind map follows the basic unit of the human brain. How is mind mapping used to achieve your goals? Based on the mind mapping technique, here are steps you can follow to help you achieve your goals in life. Materials needed: clean sheet of paper, preferably white, marking pen, colored pencils or crayons, preferably bright ones, eraser. Step 1. Have a clear goal. Before using the mind mapping goal setting, you should have a clear idea of your goal. If you have many goals, then you will need to have several pieces of blank paper for each goal. Have one goal for one mind mapping exercise. To define your goal clearly, you may ask yourself 2 questions. What is it that you want to achieve? Is it a personal, work or career, relationship, or leisure-related goal? 2. Write it down. Once your desired goal is clear in your mind, write this down on a clean sheet of paper in bold strokes. You may design it with bright colors so that your mind is attracted to it. The goal should be broad enough for long term. This means that your goal will be realized within a set time frame of, say, 5 to 10 years. However, the time frame will depend a great deal on the nature of your goal, your preference, your capability, and your age. If your goal is to write at least 5 books, then most likely you will need a year for each book. If you prefer to write long novels that will qualify as a bestseller, it could take 5 years, but this also depends on your expertise or ability to write. If you have an expected life expectancy of 70 and you are 50 years old, then you have 20 years ahead of you. You have a lot of time to write books. Step 3. Think of sub-goals or specific actions. From the stated goal of your focal point, think of sub-goals or specific actions that will enable you to reach that main goal. These activities will serve as your specific objectives. Do this freely and let your mind wander. Using the book example, your sub-goal may be written thus: make an outline of the book's contents. Download a book writing software. Gather literature relevant to the topics identified. Write 1 chapter of the book in 2 days. Identify publishing company, and submit manuscript. Step 4. Reflect on your mind map. Examine your work and review what you have written down. Identify which of those sub-goals you want to achieve first or are doable. List them down and arrange them logically. Add a time frame for each sub-goal. If necessary, break down the sub-goal into sub-sub-goals, just to be clear on what specific things you should do incrementally to meet the main goal or super goal. Step 5. Just do it. Well, nothing gets done if you just stare at your mind map. That's paralysis analysis or over-analysis. Decide and do what should be done. Time is gold. Conclusion. As you can see, mind mapping techniques and software are a powerful, flexible, and highly productive way to manage your projects, goals, and to-do lists. They not only help you with initial project planning, but also status reporting and various aspects of project management. Acting like a visual executive summary, your project maps can elegantly communicate an essential overview of your project, while also enabling team members to easily drill down to deeper levels of detail. If you own a mind mapping software program, why not give these tips and strategies a try today? I think you'll be pleasantly surprised at the clarity it brings to your projects and priorities, and it should help you to significantly increase your productivity. In essence, you are using your intuition and unconscious process when doing mind mapping. You are using your 5 senses to report and process information, not just information in the environment, but also information available internally from past experiences and knowledge that allows you to make better decisions for you. All in all, it's a great tool. Life's problems wouldn't be called hurdles if there wasn't a way to get over them. Accessing and utilizing the power of intuition through mind mapping comes from an awareness of what is happening in the body, felt sense, as well as in the mind. And this aspect is vital for using your intuition for making better decisions, making your revision easier and more engaging too. All this leads to getting over the hurdles, more motivation, greater awareness, and getting things done. The end.